consultation that I've come on, well, kind of a consultation repair type of situation. And I wanted to kind of, go over some issues on this shower. There's quite a few of them that I want to kind of go through. When I first do any type of consultation, I'm always looking at symmetry, I'm looking at cuts, I'm trying to figure out if this guy was a tile guy or just, a guy that, tile guy and a contractor who builds showers are two separate things, because there's a lot of guys out there that can do tile really well and they're on point with doing, say, a floor, backsplash in the kitchen, things like that, but they've never done a shower before. And they're attracted by the price of doing a shower, so they try their hand on it and then they fail. And so what I normally do is I come in and I look at symmetry of cuts and things like that, but I'm also kind of deciphering some of these small nuances, like the chipping that's going on here on the tile. There's really not a reason to have a chipping. If your blade is good and or you have a rubbing stone, you can get rid of those chips to kind of make it look better. The bigger issue that I have with this, back in the day, especially on the curb, back in the day when we had framed glass that was used a lot, the frame would actually encapsulate this whole area. And what I would find is that when you took off the framework, that all the goop and nasty stuff would get up under there, water would pool in there, and a lot of times it would eat through the grout line and then cause curb damage and stuff like that if it wasn't waterproof, which generally it was not. So it was kind of one of those issues that I got away from ever doing tile like this, where I'm kind of stuck with a 2 2.25 tile, and then I have to put one in the center. I just don't do that. Back in the day, I started doing the contiguous curb tops, the one curb top, whether it be a marble, faux marble, whatever it is. If I'm doing travertine, they have 6-inch curb tops. They call them sill tops, and I would have suggested doing a sill top here. It would have been nicer just to have one solid piece and one solid piece across here. Not knowing that, again, that's just kind of one of those things where I didn't even notice this. So he's off by about 1/4 inch on the lines with these tile, which is not a big deal. Overall, it's not really a bad job. I could tell that this guy's done tile a time or two, and he's probably pretty good at doing floors and backsplashes. But when it comes to shower, there's a lot of nuances that I want to get into the meat of the matter here in a minute, but again, kind of deciphering a little bit of this stuff. Yes, there was a slope there, I could tell, because this tile was flat. It wasn't cut along there, so he just made up the difference with grout. And knowing full well he was going to use a charcoal grout is probably not the best way to go on this. Splitting the difference like he did in the back here, right? That would have made more sense, splitting the difference on this tile up front so that he has something to work with. But he ended up using these bullnose tile on the outside, and again, not something that I would have done. I probably would have kind of picture framed it out so that I don't know, everybody's different, but it would have made more sense. This is a pretty good sized tile, and it would have made more sense to have that tile sitting up here rather than having all these grout lines. It's kind of a design type of thing, which I don't know. That's just a critique of the tile part. Like, there's bigger issues going on here that I want to get into, so I don't want to get too focused. But this grout line doesn't match whatsoever. Little tiny grout line there, and then bigger grout line, bigger, almost nothing, bigger, and there's no consistency, except that things are kind of inconsistent. So yeah, I could, and here's the issue too. Getting into, look at that chipping. Getting into a situation where you're going to be using a contrasting grout, everything has to be, like, if a cut doesn't work, do it again. Do it a third time if you have to, because it has to be consistent. Everything's going to show, and that's what I tell any potential customer when they're contemplating using something that contrasts this vastly. Like, you have to be on point with cuts, because every little thing is going to show. And things that wouldn't show ordinarily if you're matching your tile with your grout are going to gonna pop. And so that's kind of the problem. This has a bump out. These tile have a bump out. This one's flat straight down, but this is bumped out. Not sure why. Not bumped out over there. The other thing too is that he set his floor tile after he did his wall tile. You can clearly see this grout on this grout line. Well, not so much there, but I think on the back I saw. Which is not a huge deal, but it's not the right way, right? So, did I see it back here? I saw it somewhere, or I think the homeowner told me. So the floor tile was set after the fact, and it shouldn't have been. That's, I think, why he ended up with such a large grout line there. And again, same as the other grout lines, some are large, some are small. Kind of small potatoes, I guess, and the overall, if it's a functional shower, and a lot of these things don't matter, yes, a minor lippage here. This, I'm almost convinced that this guy did all this tile with mastic, because when I look at the edge of the wall and the tile, there's no bump out. I mean, like, there's nothing there. It's just like the tile is flat up against the wall with a little caulking or something like that on the edge. And I kind of saw it over here too. It's just so flat against the wall that my concern is that he didn't use thin set, which should have been in the shower. Another issue is that this type of tile has natural spacers built into the tile already, so that he came in and used, it looks like 1/4 inch spacers. 1/4 inch is quite large for this and really makes everything pop more than it needed to be. When you match these tile up next to each other, you're going to get a 1/16 inch grout line, and it would have been appropriate. So he came in here with sand and grout, which, you know, is okay if you're going to use large grout line, but again, it makes everything pop, knowing full well that that he was going to be using contrasting colors. Some of the chipping on here is, this one doesn't have it, that one has it, so it's kind of inconsistent. That one looks kind of weird too. A lot of the symmetry looks okay, but you know, taking a closer look at things is kind of, when I say closer, look at that. When I say closer look, that tile's chipped. I'm not trying to critique, you know, every little thing, but all these things add up to tell me that he hasn't built a shower. So, getting to the reason I'm here. You see all this water? Yeah. So this water is pooling definitively over here and over here and over here. And it was ran probably about 10 minutes ago. And the reason it's pooling is because he hasn't done a shower before. So, and look at all that goop going on there too. Like he never cleaned out the drain. So what had happened is the shower pan, oof, look at that. The shower pan was done originally, you can't see it now, with white thin set. And before this all got wet, you could see kind of all the white color and all that stuff that had kind of leached through into the grout, knowing full well he's doing a charcoal grout. Oh, there's some of it. And so that's kind of a mistake. But also, and to the point, he had some pooling going on with some areas around here. There's actually a hump. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a hump. And when I walked across it, I could feel that hump. And then there's a dip. So he came back, I think, on 2 different occasions to try and fix this issue, and failed on both counts. So it should have been done right the first time, but correcting it retroactively is very, very hard to do for a couple of reasons. But it also tells me that he didn't waterproof. This is not a waterproof pan surface when he set the tile on, because there's no way he could have tore out a section of tile and put it back and not compromise the waterproofer, especially with this type of tile and all that stuff, because you can't get a square cut with hexagon tile of any sort. And then a couple of the chip tile that he overcut on just were left there. So the pooling thing is a big deal, and this pan has to either be redone or some tile has to be set over it to take care of it. And, you know, it's something that I don't, I guess the reason that I don't take pleasure in critiquing other people's work. I know a lot of people give me a hard time about saying that I'm not perfect, but I don't cause problems. When I come in to build something, I'm not causing a problem. And I don't want to have to rectify somebody else's work. But the only way, and the reason that I put these videos out there is to know what you should know, right? Know that you're getting a tile guy who also builds showers, or a guy who builds showers who also does tile, whichever way you look at it. But just the tile guy that you got referred to from a coworker or relative that happened to do a kitchen backsplash is not the guy necessarily you want to do your shower, because he should be busy doing showers and not have time to do a backsplash. I don't, but you know, everybody's different. And the best advice I could give to people out there, and the whole purpose of doing this video is to know what you know. And the only way you can know that is what I suggest when I get an email or phone call. How do I find an experienced tile guy who can build a shower and not mess it up? So you go to your local tile store, standalone tile store, and you find the guy at the desk who's fulfilling orders and loading up trucks and all that stuff. He's the guy who deals with people all the time. He's the one that's selling the Red Guard and the Schluter material and all this stuff. You know, for years and years, the same guy's coming in and they're talking shop and all that stuff. And so he knows the guy who's doing floor work as opposed to the guy who's doing the shower work. And that's the best advice I could give. Because you're not going to get anybody quality off of some of the websites or off of their, out there, rather. You know, even in this case, the homeowner saw some pictures of work that he had done before, but how do you know they're the pictures of stuff that he's done? You don't. And you don't know that the 3 or 4 references that you're going to get are going to come through. They're going to be not relatives or people that he knows that are going to, you know, lie for him or whatever. So this guy did the best he could, which wasn't, and price point, right? So this shower was built. There's a lot of things that I've not talked about on here. This you can't see on the ceiling because the light is in the way, but this used to be a small, I think it was 2x3 or 3x3 fiberglass shower, and they extended it out. This was a closet apparently here, so they got rid of the closet and they got rid of the shower and made one big giant shower, which is a great vision. I like it. But somebody who's going to come in here and have to drill out or have to knock out the concrete, move the drain over, which he didn't even get center, move the drain over, tear out all this stuff, you know, prep it, make it, you know, tileable, ready, and then tile decently, is not going to be charging $1,500. It's just not going to happen. So that should kind of be a heads up that you're going to get into a problem if you go with the low price. And sometimes, you know, even the medium price, I don't know. It's a very difficult conundrum that people find themselves in, hiring somebody and not knowing. But a lot of my videos show the process. And if you're going through, let me put this out there. If you're going through a shower job where you're physically home every night, right? You're not on vacation somewhere or whatever. Take a picture of the process. Every step of the way, take a picture so that you know what's going on. So that if I have to come in and rectify something like this, that I know that he's waterproofed the shower pan or he's waterproofed the walls or he hasn't. Or that I know that he hasn't messed up the drain. That there are things that I can decipher going backward in time if you take pictures. So that's one suggestion. Take pictures of the work. And if you're feeling a certain way, like he's not doing it right, go on YouTube and find out, or go somewhere, go ask somebody, you know, hey, is this the process, is it going correct? So that you're not into this situation where you're finished, but you're not finished. And then the second thing, the advice that I gave earlier, go to a standalone tile place and talk to the guy at the counter. He's the one that's going to know who can do a shower correctly. Yeah. So that's all I have to say. I just try and put information out there for whatever it's worth. I don't know who's watching or who needs to know what, but hopefully you learn something from it. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're going to call me for advice,
please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.